On the 4th of July, my daughter looked at me across the backyard barbecue and said, "Dad, you're 63 years old. You don't work. You don't do anything. Why are we still pretending you matter in this family?" Her husband nodded like she'd just read the weather forecast. That's when I understood something I'd been avoiding for 5 years. I'd spent my entire adult life building a home, raising a daughter, and burying a wife, and the person I'd sacrificed everything for saw me as nothing more than a landlord who'd overstayed his lease. So I did what no one expected. I sold the house out from under them for $1.4 million, wired every dollar to an offshore account, and booked a one-way flight to the south of Spain. But before I left, I placed a cardboard box on the kitchen counter. What was inside that box dismantled their entire world. I'm recording this from a rooftop terrace in Nerja, a small coastal town on the Mediterranean where bougainvillea climbs whitewashed walls and old men play dominoes in the plaza until midnight. Nobody here knows me as the retired father who lost his purpose. They just know me as Tomas, the American who drinks Café Solo every morning and walks the cliffside path like he's got nowhere else to be. Because I don't. But let me go back to the beginning. Because the beginning is where everything went wrong. The backyard smelled like charcoal and lighter fluid. July 4th in Scottsdale, Arizona, which means 112 degrees by noon. So we'd set up the canopy, dragged out the misters, filled coolers with ice that melted in 20 minutes. I'd been up since 5 marinating the ribs, my late wife Karen's recipe. The one with brown sugar and apple cider vinegar that took 6 hours to smoke right. Karen had died 4 years earlier. Ovarian cancer. Fast and merciless. 8 months from diagnosis to funeral. We'd been married 36 years. After she passed, the house felt enormous. 4 bedrooms. A pool I never used. A garden she'd planted that I tried to keep alive out of guilt, more than skill. So when my daughter Rachel called crying about how the apartment complex had raised rent again, and Derek's contracting business had slowed down, and little Sophie was starting kindergarten, and they couldn't afford the day-in tuition, I said what any father would say. Come home. Stay as long as you need. That was 5 years ago. Sophie was 5 then. She's 10 now, and I've watched her grow up in the house where her mother grew up, sleeping in the bedroom her mother slept in, which should have been beautiful. It was. For a while. The first year was fine. Grateful, even. Rachel cooked dinner twice a week. Derek fixed the leaking faucet in the guest bathroom, replaced the garage door opener. They talked about saving up, finding a place, getting back on their feet. Normal things. Hopeful things. By year 2, the gratitude faded. The cooking stopped. Derek's contracting business picked up, but somehow the money never materialized into rent or contributions. Rachel got a part-time job at a real estate office, then a full-time one. 2 incomes, no rent, no utilities, no grocery bills. I paid for everything. The mortgage was paid off in 2018, but property taxes in Scottsdale on a 4-bedroom house ran $9,000 a year. Homeowner's insurance, another $3,000. Utilities in an Arizona summer, $400 a month just for electricity to run the AC. Pool maintenance, landscaping, internet, water, garbage, HOA fees. I tallied it once. Roughly $38,000 a year just to keep the house running, times 5 years. $190,000. All mine. Then there were the extras. I lent Derek $18,000 for new equipment when he landed a big commercial contract. Never saw a dollar back. Paid for Sophie's private kindergarten and 1st through 4th grade tuition, $62,000 total. Covered Rachel's dental implants when her insurance wouldn't. $9,000. Bought Derek a truck when his old one threw a rod on the highway. $14,000. Gave them $8,000 for their 10th wedding anniversary trip to Cancun because Rachel said they needed to reconnect as a couple. All told, over 5 years, I'd spent roughly $350,000 supporting my daughter's family. And I was the one with no purpose. The barbecue was winding down. Sophie was inside watching something on the iPad. Derek had 2 beers in him, and was leaning back in a lawn chair, scrolling through his phone. Rachel sat across from me, picking at a rib, and that's when she said it. I'd just mentioned that I was thinking about taking a pottery class at the community center, something to fill the mornings. Karen and I had always talked about learning ceramics together. Rachel looked up. Her expression wasn't cruel exactly. It was worse than cruel. It was dismissive, like I'd suggested something mildly embarrassing. Dad, come on. A pottery class? You're 63, you don't work. You don't really do anything around here. Why are we still pretending you matter in this family? I mean, honestly, Derek and I have been talking, and we think it might be time to discuss the house situation. The ribs turned to cement in my stomach. What house situation? Derek sat up, put his phone down. Rehearsed. They'd practiced this. Frank, we've been here 5 years, Derek said, using my first name instead of Dad, which he'd never done before. The house is paid off. You're retired on Social Security and your pension. You don't need a 4-bedroom place. Rachel and we're raising Sophie here. This is her home. We think it makes sense for you to transfer the deed to us and maybe find a nice 1-bedroom apartment or one of those active senior communities. They've got shuffleboard, bingo, the whole deal. Shuffleboard. The man who'd rebuilt an engine at 19 managed a machine shop for 31 years and raised a daughter alone after his wife died was being offered shuffleboard. You want me to give you the house? I said. It's not giving, Rachel said, leaning forward. It's transitioning. You'd still be family. You'd visit. But Dad, you walk around here like a ghost. You watch TV in the living room when we're trying to have family time. You rearrange things in the kitchen. You make comments about how Derek parks in the driveway. It's like living with a supervisor who never clocks out. This is my house, Rachel. I built the addition on the back with my own hands. Your mother and I picked every tile in the bathroom. And Mom's gone, Dad. She said it soft, but it landed like a hammer. She's been gone 4 years. The house is full of her stuff, and you won't change anything. We can't even repaint the living room, because you'll have a breakdown over the color Karen picked in 2011. We're stuck in a museum, and you're the curator. Derek nodded. We appreciate everything, Frank. Really. But it's time. You sign over the house, we take over maintenance, and you go enjoy retirement somewhere smaller. Less stress for everyone. Less stress for them. More exile for me. And if I say no, they exchanged a look. The look. The one that said they'd discuss this part too. Then we'll need to start looking at other options, Rachel said carefully. For Sophie's sake, she needs stability. Not a grandfather who's stuck in the past moping around a house that's too big for one person. And frankly, Dad, we've been looking into some places. Nice places. Communities where people your age can be around their peers. Stay active. Have support if they need it. I'm 63. I don't need support. I mow the lawn every week. You had heat exhaustion last summer doing that. It was 115 degrees. Anyone would. Silence. The misters hissed. A neighbor's firework popped somewhere down the block. Too early, too small, like a cough. I stood up. My knees ached. Everything ached, but not from age. From this. I'm going inside. Dad. Don't just walk away. We need to talk about this like adults. I am an adult, Rachel. That's apparently the problem. I walked into the kitchen, past Sophie's abandoned plate, past the counter where Karen used to roll pie crust on Thanksgiving mornings, into the hallway, into my bedroom, the master bedroom that I'd shared with Karen for 3 decades, the room where I'd held her hand the night before she went to the hospital for the last time. I closed the door and sat on the edge of the bed in the dark. Karen's reading glasses were still on the nightstand. I'd never moved them. They want the house, Karen, I said to the empty room. They want me gone. The house answered with the hum of the air conditioning, the distant pop of fireworks, the muffled sound of Derek laughing at something on his phone. I didn't sleep that night. Sat in the old recliner Karen had bought at an estate sale, the one she'd reupholstered herself in navy corduroy, and I thought. Not angry thoughts. Clear thoughts. calculated thoughts. By 2 in the morning, I had a plan. Monday morning, I called my lawyer, Patricia Huang, sharp as a scalpel, Karen's old college roommate who'd handled our estate planning. Patricia, I need to know my options. Rachel and Derek have been living in my house for 5 years. No lease, no rent, no agreement. They want me to sign over the property. Are you considering it? I'm considering selling it. A pause. Then, carefully, Frank, that's a significant decision. The market in Scottsdale is strong right now. Your neighborhood, 4 bedrooms, pool, that's easily 1.3, maybe 1.5 million. I'm aware. What about Rachel and Sophie? Rachel is 37 years old with a full-time job. Derek's business is profitable. They've been living rent-free for 5 years. They can figure it out. Another pause. What do you need from me? Notice to vacate. 60 days. And I need to know about selling the property while they're still occupying it. You can list it with occupants. Buyer takes possession after they vacate. Alternatively, you give notice, they leave, then you list. The second option is cleaner. Cleaner than 60 days. I'll draft it today. Frank, are you sure? Patricia, my daughter told me I have no purpose. On the 4th of July, at a barbecue I cooked, in a house I paid for, after 5 years of free everything, I'm sure. She was quiet for a moment. Karen would be proud of you. Karen would have kicked them out 3 years ago. Patricia laughed. She knew Karen. She knew I was right. Tuesday, I started documenting. Every receipt I could find. Bank statements going back 5 years. Credit card records showing groceries, utilities, Sophie's tuition, Derek's truck, the equipment loan, the anniversary trip. I built a spreadsheet on my laptop, line by line, month by month. The total grew past 300,000 and kept climbing when I added the imputed rent. 4-bedroom house in Scottsdale, market rate was $2,800 a month, times 60 months. $168,000 in free housing alone. Combined total, conservatively, $518,000. $500,000 of fatherhood that had no point. Wednesday, I called a realtor. Not just any realtor. Diane Kowalski, the top seller in the East Valley. A woman who once closed on a property during a dust storm because the buyer was flying back to Chicago the next morning. I'd met her at a neighborhood HOA meeting and kept her card. Frank Morrison, I want to sell my house at 2841 Saguaro Ridge Drive. That's a beautiful property. 4 bedrooms, pool, mountain views. Are you looking to downsize? I'm looking to disappear. She didn't miss a beat. I can have a listing price and market analysis to you by Friday. Make it fast. I want to close in 60 days. She made it fast. Listing price, $1.45 million. She estimated it would sell within 3 weeks, given the market. Scottsdale in midsummer was slow, but the property was good enough to overcome the season. Meanwhile, I researched Spain, specifically the southern coast, Andalusia. Karen and I had spent 2 weeks there in 2009, the only real vacation we'd ever taken, driving from Malaga to Cadiz, eating pescadito frito at beach chiringuitos, watching flamenco in Seville. She'd fallen in love with a town called Nerja, small and white, and perched on cliffs above the Mediterranean. When we retire, she'd said, wine in hand, see below, we're coming back here. We never did. Cancer had its own retirement plan. I looked up apartments in Nerja, found one on a relocation website. Rooftop terrace, 2 bedrooms, furnished, €800 a month. Available immediately. The owner, a Spanish woman named Lucia, responded to my inquiry within hours. Sent photos, tile floors, wooden shutters. A terrace overlooking the sea with a lemon tree in a ceramic pot. I wired first and last month's deposit that afternoon. Thursday, Patricia delivered the notice to vacate. I chose to deliver it myself, but not yet. I wanted the timing right. Friday, Diane listed the house. Private listing, no public sign, no open houses. Targeted marketing to qualified buyers. She called Monday, with 3 showing requests. Already? I said. Frank, your house is gorgeous. Karen had incredible taste. These buyers are serious. The first showing happened Tuesday while Rachel was at work and Derek was on a job site. Sophie was at summer camp. I let the buyers in, a young couple from California relocating for tech jobs, and watched them fall in love with the kitchen Karen had designed, the backyard she'd landscaped, the reading nook she'd built under the stairs for Rachel when Rachel was 7. They made an offer that evening. $1.42 million. Cash. 30-day close. I countered at $1.44 million with a 60-day close to align with the eviction timeline. They accepted the next morning. Now, I had to tell Rachel and Derek. I chose a Wednesday evening. Sophie was at a sleepover with her friend Madison. Rachel and Derek were in the living room watching some renovation show, which struck me as ironic given the circumstances. We need to talk, I said. Rachel muted the TV. Derek sat up. I handed Rachel the envelope, cream-colored. Her name, and Derek's written in my careful handwriting. The same penmanship Karen always said looked like an architect's. What's this? Open it. She did. Read the first page. Her face went white. Not dramatically white, the kind of white that starts at the edges and works inward, like milk being poured into coffee in reverse. You're evicting us? I'm giving you 60 days to find your own housing, which is more than the 30 Arizona law requires. Derek grabbed the papers. Read them. His jaw worked like he was chewing something tough. You can't sell the house, Frank. This is our home. It's my home. My name on the deed. My money that paid for it. My wife, who designed every room. Your guests who forgot to leave. Dad. Rachel's voice cracked. The manipulation voice. I'd heard it when she was 16 and wanted the car keys, when she was 22 and needed rent money, when she was 32 and needed a place to live. Always the same crack. Right on cue. Rachel, you told me I have no purpose. You told me I don't matter. You suggested assisted living. You and your husband, who have lived in my house for 5 years without paying a single dollar, asked me to sign over the property I built with your mother. I didn't mean it like that. I was just being honest about. You were honest. For the first time in years, you were completely honest. And now I'm being honest. The house is sold. Buyer closes in 53 days. Your 60-day notice gives you a week of overlap. Use it. Derek stood up. Bigger than me by 4 inches and 40 pounds, but I didn't move. You're going to put your granddaughter on the street? I'm going to let her parents be parents for the first time in 5 years. You make good money, Derek. Rachel has a full-time salary. You've had no rent, no utilities, no major expenses for half a decade. If you can't afford housing after all that, that's a reflection of your financial choices, not my responsibility. Where are you going? Rachel asked. Tears now real or performed, I couldn't tell anymore. Away. Away where? Somewhere I have a point. I turned and walked back to my bedroom. Locked the door. Sat in the recliner. My hands were steady. My pulse was calm. I felt, for the first time in 5 years, like the floor beneath me was solid. The next 6 weeks were chaos. Their chaos, not mine. Rachel cried. Derek threatened. They called Patricia, who shut them down with the precision of someone who'd done this before. They called a lawyer of their own, who told them what Patricia had already told me. They had no lease, no ownership claim, no legal standing. They were month-to-month occupants in a property they didn't own. Derek tried negotiation. What if we pay rent going forward? Market rate. Whatever you want. The house is sold, Derek. What if we buy it from you? We'll get a mortgage. You can't qualify for a mortgage on a $1.4 million property. We both know that. Rachel tried guilt. Sophie is going to be devastated. You're tearing her world apart. You tore it apart on the 4th of July when you told your father he was pointless in front of his granddaughter. Sophie heard that, Rachel. She was inside, but the window was open. Children hear everything. That one landed. I saw it hit behind her eyes. She heard. She asked me the next morning why Mommy said Grandpa doesn't matter. I told her Mommy was having a bad day. But we both know it wasn't a bad day. It was a bad character. I packed while they spiraled. 2 suitcases, warm weather clothes, my laptop, important documents, Karen's wedding ring on its chain, the photo album from our Spain trip, a small watercolor Sophie had painted for me in 2nd grade, a cactus wearing a sombrero with the caption, "World's Best Grandpa" in wobbly purple letters. I wasn't leaving memories. I was leaving people who didn't deserve to make new ones with me. The cardboard box I prepared last. This was the important part. Inside, I placed printed copies of my spreadsheet, every page, every line item, every dollar. 5 years of invisible generosity made visible. On top, a letter, Rachel and Derek. This box contains a complete accounting of what I've provided your family over the past 5 years. The total is $518,000. Housing, utilities, tuition, loans, vehicles, trips, groceries, insurance, and 1,000 small expenses you never noticed because you never had to. You asked me what my point was. Here it is, printed in black and white. My point was keeping your family afloat while you spent your money on things I never asked about and saved nothing. I don't want the money back. I never did. What I wanted was respect, and you couldn't afford that either. The house closes on August 29th. Your 60 days end on August 31st. Patricia has the details. I'm leaving the country. Don't look for me. Don't call. If Sophie asks about me when she's older, tell her that her grandfather loved her enough to leave rather than teach her that family means tolerating contempt. Frank Morrison. I placed the box on the kitchen counter, right where Karen used to set her purse when she came home from work. Center stage. My flight left at 6 in the morning. Phoenix to Madrid. Madrid to Malaga. Malaga to Nerja by bus. 18 hours of traveling towards something instead of away from something. Though it was both. I called a cab at 4:30, loaded my suitcases in the dark, stood in the driveway for 1 minute, looking at the house. The saguaro cactus in the front yard, 15 feet tall, had been there when we bought the place. Karen said it looked like it was waving hello. I waved back. Goodbye, old friend. The cab driver was a young guy named Miguel. Didn't ask questions. Good man. At the airport, I turned off my phone, checked in, got terrible coffee, sat at the gate watching the sky turn pink over the desert mountains through floor-to-ceiling windows. Beautiful morning to leave everything behind. My phone buzzed in my pocket at 7:14, 40 minutes before boarding. I glanced at the screen. Rachel, then Derek, then Rachel again. They'd found the box. I powered the phone off completely. Now boarding flight IB 2619 to Madrid. All zones. I handed my boarding pass to the gate agent. She scanned it, smiled. Enjoy your flight, Mr. Morrison. I planned to. Spain hit me like a revelation. Nerja in July was hot but dry, nothing like Arizona's suffocating heat. The Mediterranean stretched out impossibly blue from the Balcón de Europa. The cliffside promenade where tourists ate ice cream and locals watched the world pass. My apartment sat above a small bakery on Calle Pintada. Every morning, the smell of fresh bread climbed the stairs before I did. Lucia, my landlord, was 68, a retired schoolteacher with silver hair and strong opinions about olive oil. She brought me a bottle the first day, cold-pressed from her family's grove in Jaén. Bienvenido, Frank. This is the good stuff. Don't cook with it. Drink it. I laughed. Actually laughed. The first week was strange. I kept reaching for responsibilities that didn't exist. No lawn to mow, no pool to clean, no groceries to buy for 4 people. Just me, the terrace, the lemon tree, and the sound of the sea. I walked kilometers every day along the coastal path. past hidden coves and abandoned watchtowers and fishermen pulling nets from turquoise water. My body loosened. My shoulders dropped from where they'd been living near my ears for 5 years. Met other expats at a cafe called El Rincon. Barry and June from Manchester, both 71, retired NHS workers who'd sold their house and moved south 8 years ago. Hans from Hamburg, 65, former mechanical engineer who now restored vintage motorcycles in his garage. Amara from Senegal, 57, who ran the best couscous restaurant in town and laughed so loud the pigeons scattered. They asked why I'd come. I told them the short version. Amara shook her head. Your daughter said that? On your national holiday? While eating food you cooked? While eating ribs I'd been smoking since 5 in the morning. Mon Dieu. She squeezed my hand across the table. You did right. Frank, you did exactly right. Barry nodded. Our son didn't speak to us for 4 years after we left England. Said we were selfish, abandoning the grandchildren. Know what happened? He visited. Saw how we were living. Actually living. Not just existing in service of everyone else. He apologized. Now he comes every Christmas. Does it always work out like that? No, June said. Sometimes they never come around. But Frank, it's not about whether they come around. It's about whether you can look at yourself in the mirror. Can you? For the first time in years. Yes. 3 weeks in, I tried something I'd never done. I walked into a flamenco school near the plaza. Not to dance, just to watch. But the instructor, a woman named Carmen who was maybe 40 with posture like a steel beam, spotted me at the door. You want to learn? I'm 63. I have 2 left feet. I've taught students with no feet. Come in. The first lesson was humbling. Flamenco is fury and precision and grace, and I had none of those things. But when I stomped my heel against the wooden floor and heard the sound crack through the room, something broke loose inside me. Something that had been locked up since Karen died, since Rachel stopped seeing me, since I became furniture in my own house. I went back the next day, and the next. Started learning Spanish too. Proper lessons, not apps. My teacher was a university student named Pablo, 24, endlessly patient with my mangled conjugations. You're improving, Frank. I'm butchering your beautiful language. You're attempting it. Most Americans don't even try. That means something. A month in, I turned on my old phone, just to check that Patricia had everything under control. 47 missed calls, 29 texts, 11 voicemails, all from Rachel and Derek. I didn't read the texts. Didn't listen to the voicemails. Opened Patricia's email. Frank, house closed successfully. $1.44 million. Net proceeds after fees and taxes approximately $1.28 million. Deposited into your account. Rachel and Derek vacated on day 56. Minor damage to the garage wall looks intentional, but within the security deposit equivalent we held back. They've retained a lawyer but have no legal basis for action. I've sent a cease and desist regarding the harassment calls. Everything is handled. Take care of yourself over there. Patricia. I sat on my terrace reading that email as the sun set over the Mediterranean, the sky turning amber and violet, fishing boats heading back to harbor, $1.28 million. Added to my pension, Social Security, and savings, I had just over $1.7 million. In Nerja, where rent was €800 and dinner cost 12, that money could last the rest of my life. I replied to Patricia, thank you for everything. I'm staying in Spain indefinitely. Please help me look into Spanish residency options. And Patricia, if Rachel contacts you again, tell her I'm alive, I'm well, and I'm done. Then I blocked every number associated with Rachel and Derek, deleted the voicemails unheard, the texts unread. Whatever they had to say was 5 years too late. Months passed. My Spanish improved, from terrible to functional. I could order complicated tapas, argue gently with the vegetable vendor about the ripeness of his tomatoes, understand Carmen when she told me my footwork was getting better. which she did rarely, and always with a raised eyebrow that said, "Don't get cocky." The flamenco helped more than I expected. Something about the discipline, the controlled anger, the art of expressing pain through movement instead of words. Karen would have loved it. She'd have been better at it than me. She was better at everything that involved grace. I started writing. Not a blog exactly. More like letters to nobody. Stories about starting over, about Nurja, about learning that retirement wasn't an ending but a door you'd been too busy to notice. Posted them on a simple website Pablo helped me set up. Small readership at first, then growing. People from all over writing comments about their own families, their own exiles, their own moments of choosing themselves over people who'd stopped choosing them. Met someone too. Elena. Not a romance. Not at first. She ran the bookshop on Calle Granada, a narrow space crammed with Spanish and English novels, smelling of old paper and espresso. She was 61, widowed 3 years, originally from Valencia. Her husband had been a fisherman who died at sea in a storm. She talked about him the way I talked about Karen. Present tense. Still here. Just invisible. We started as recommendations. She'd hand me a novel. I'd bring her one of my letters to read. Then coffee. Then dinners. Then long walks along the Paseo de los Carabineros, where the path narrowed to nothing and the sea opened up below like the world's biggest promise. "You seem different from when you arrived," she said one evening, wine in hand, sardines on the grill between us. Different how? Less clenched, like a fist that's learning to open. "That's the most Spanish thing anyone's ever said to me." She smiled. "It's the most true." 5 months in, the email came. Not from Rachel. From Sophie. Subject line, "Hi, Grandpa." I stared at it for 10 minutes before opening. "Dear Grandpa Frank, Mom gave me your email. She said you live in Spain now. I looked it up on Google Maps. It looks pretty. I'm 10 now. Almost 10 and a half. Mom and Dad don't live together anymore. Dad has an apartment near the highway. Mom and I live with Aunt Christine. I switch houses every week. Dad is sad a lot. Mom is angry a lot. I am confused a lot. I found your website, where you write stories. I read all of them. You're a good writer. I didn't know you were learning to dance. That's cool. I miss you, Grandpa. I miss the ribs, and I miss when you'd let me help water the garden, even though I always sprayed the cat. Mr. Whiskers misses you too, probably. Are you happy? I hope you're happy. I'm not mad at you. Mom says you abandoned us, but I don't think that's true. I think you just left somewhere that hurt. Can we maybe FaceTime sometime? If you want. If you don't want, that's okay too. Love, Sophie, Pay, S. I still have the sombrero cactus painting on my wall. I read it 4 times. The lemon tree rustled in the evening breeze. Somewhere down on the street, Carmen's flamenco music pulsed through the open windows of the studio. The world kept moving, but I was still, holding my granddaughter's words like something fragile. She was 10, innocent in all of this. Caught between parents whose marriage had collapsed under the weight of their own entitlement, she didn't deserve to lose her grandfather too. But I'd been here before. The door that opens with good intentions and closes around your neck. I called Elena. Told her about the email. What does your heart say? That she's a child who needs her grandfather. And what does your head say? That Rachel could use her to pull me back in. Then set the terms yourself. You're not the same man who left Arizona, Frank. That man would have said yes to everything and lost himself again. This man can say yes to Sophie and no to everything else. I wrote back. Multiple drafts. Careful words. Dear Sophie, thank you for your email. It made me happier than you can imagine. I would love to FaceTime with you, but I need you to understand something. And I'll explain it the way I'd explain it to the smart 10-year-old I know you are. My relationship with your mom is complicated. We hurt each other. And I need space from that hurt so I can stay healthy and happy. You and I can have our own relationship. Just us. Grandpa and granddaughter. but it has to stay just us. If your mom tries to use our calls to talk to me or fix things, I'll have to stop calling for a while. Not because I don't love you, but because some things between adults need time. Can you accept that? I'm very happy in Spain. I'm learning to dance flamenco, which is a kind of Spanish dance where you stomp your feet and look very serious. I'm terrible at it, but getting better. I eat sardines almost every day, and my Spanish teacher says my accent sounds like a cowboy trying to speak French, which I think is a compliment. I love you, Sophie. I always will. FaceTime on Saturday mornings, my time works well. That's Friday evening for you. Let me know. Love, Grandpa Frank. P.S. Tell Mr. Whiskers I said meow. She replied in 20 minutes. Yes, to Saturday mornings your time. And Grandpa, Mom asked me to tell you she's sorry, but I promised I won't be a messenger. Just Sophie. Deal? Deal. We FaceTimed that Saturday. Her face on the screen made my chest tight in a way I hadn't felt in months. She'd grown. Lost the little kid roundness. Gained angles. Still Sophie. Still the girl who sprayed the cat with the garden hose and laughed until she wheezed. We talked for 40 minutes. She told me about 5th grade. About her best friend Madison. About the hermit crab she'd gotten for her birthday. I told her about Nurja, about Carmen's terrifying eyebrow, about the time I accidentally ordered a whole grilled octopus and didn't know how to eat it. She laughed. That laugh, Karen's laugh, passed down through Rachel to Sophie, the only inheritance that mattered. Are you coming back to Arizona? I don't think so, sweetheart. Not to live. Maybe to visit someday. That's okay. Can we keep calling? Every Saturday. As long as you want. I want. Then we will. She waved goodbye and the screen went dark, and I sat on my terrace watching the Mediterranean catch the last light of day, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Connected. Not needed, not used, not tolerated. Connected. To a 10-year-old girl who understood more about love and boundaries than her parents ever had. Now, I'm sitting on this rooftop terrace in Nurja, 8 months after leaving Scottsdale. The bakery below is just opening. I can smell bread and sugar. Elena will come by at noon with a book she wants me to read. Carmen has me performing in a small recital next month, which terrifies me. But terror feels different now. It feels like being alive. My daughter and her husband imploded their marriage. My house belongs to strangers from California now. My granddaughter FaceTimes me every Saturday with stories about hermit crabs and math tests. My Spanish sounds like a cowboy speaking French. And every morning I wake up on a terrace overlooking the Mediterranean, with a lemon tree and a cup of cafe solo and absolutely no one telling me I have no purpose. Retirement isn't the end of your story. It's the chapter where you finally get to choose the plot. If you've made it this far, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Maybe someone in your life has measured your worth by your productivity, your usefulness, your willingness to hand over everything you've built. Maybe they've told you, directly or indirectly, that you've expired. Here's what I learned in 8 months of Spanish sunlight and flamenco lessons and sardines on the grill. Your purpose isn't something other people assign to you. It's something you carry. It was always yours. You just forgot because you were too busy carrying everyone else. I'm 63 years old. I'm learning a new language in a country my wife loved. I'm dancing badly but with conviction. I'm writing things that strangers read and respond to with their own stories of survival. I'm building a life that no one gets to evaluate, judge, or dismantle. The bread is ready downstairs. Time to go get some. Maybe a slice of tortilla too. Elena says I eat too much bread, but she smiles when she says it. I have nowhere I need to be, no one to justify myself to, no purpose except the one I wake up and choose every single morning. Turns out that's more than enough. Turns out that's everything.